Listen, let's go straight to the Volta region. Let's not wait any longer. People are losing property as we speak, and the fear is that this is nowhere near over. But what's happening? What's happening in towns like Mepe? Sorry, have I said that right? Mepe.
Mepe, yeah,
Yes,
Mepe.
Mepe, and Bator, and Sogakope, and Sokwe, and areas around these towns. Let's talk to our very own Joshua Tigo, who happens to be on the ground. Joshua, good morning. Why don't you paint us a picture of the effects of the spillage of Akosombo Dam on these communities?
Good morning for you and team. So, if you want me to capture the entire process of what is happening there in one word, I would say I wouldn't use the word disaster. I would say it's a tragedy. I left Accra yesterday in the morning for Mepe, just so I can see things for myself. I got to Mepe around 11:30 a.m. and went to stand about 50 meters away from where the flooding had gotten to. And within 10-15 minutes of standing where I was and conversing with some of the people that had been displaced, the flooding had gotten to where I was standing.
Oh my goodness.
And that is the force with which the spilled waters are moving. I've seen so many people displaced. Those who are lucky to have relatives on higher ground have moved to join them in their home. Those who do not have relatives on higher ground are in despair. Somehow, the local authorities, the assembly members, and the district assembly have managed to find a place for them at Tentizito Secondary School, where even though it's a place that is going to harbor them for now, they are the mercy of the weather and all the other things that come with being at the mercy of the weather.
Wow. It does sound like a tragedy. So, any sign of the authorities? Has NADMO been attending to these people?
Yes, so as at about 5:30 p.m. yesterday, NADMO National, I saw the Director General and his deputy. I saw VRA officials. I saw Fletcher. I saw, and when I mentioned, I saw Abu Ramadan. I spoke to them, MP for the area of Kujetu Blackwa. They were all at St. Kizito Secondary Technical School, where some of the displaced people are currently occupied. And they told me that they had done allocation of relief items, but the items were yet to get to town as at about 5 p.m., 6 p.m. yesterday. Unfortunately, I have not been able to go to the secondary school to see whether the items had finally arrived. But Kojo, I listened to your intro, and you couldn't have captured it any better, because this whole spillage and the displacement that are happening in the Mepe and Bator area and the Masi area, and anybody who knows how the towns are, these are towns sitting along the Volta Lake. This displacement started about a week ago, and I only went to Mepe yesterday, and to be having the conversation that relief items were yet to get to the people. It's a hard one.
Now, this spillage was planned in advance.
Exactly.
Did the people of the community know about this? What kind of communication was had with them before the spillage began?
That is the other level of the conversation that we all need to have. That look, because all of you there are people in the communication team. I think VRA's understanding of engaging the people is issuing some press release of a sort centrally from Accra, and expect that locals would see these press releases and understand exactly what is going to happen in the area. It's a sad one. Look, these are communities that have local radio stations that broadcast in their language. These are communities that have what we call they have centers, announcement centers. I have forgotten the term for it. Where at dawn there is a central point where somebody can just give an announcement and all the people in the town get to hear what is going to happen in their lives during the day. I don't think that any of these tools were employed. But I'm sure that VRA, and for that matter, the authorities that matter would hide behind the veil of issuing some press statement of a sort.
What are you learning about the value of property lost? I mean, personal property, businesses. What have the people of Mepe lost?
Kojo, what they have lost is, I mean, for some you can quantify. I mean, you can quantify properties and say somebody's fridge or television or mattress or something is in water. But more is the picture you painted. They've actually lost what you would call legacies that have been handed down by their great grandparents. Because this is unprecedented. It's never happened before. So there are homes that are going to disappear because of this. And these homes will never come back, because these are things that have been left for the people that remind them of who they are and what their parents stood for and all that. All those things are gone. I spoke to people yesterday who said that, look, and because of the situation, I need to say this, in order not for anybody to suffer any electrification of the source, ECG has cut supply to the area. So it's difficult for you to even charge your phone and communicate with some uncle who is in Accra and tell him what is happening and say, come to our aid or send us some money. Or even if they send you the money, you may not be able to go and withdraw the money because you need to go and you need to have the phone in the first place to be able to withdraw that money. I spoke to people who said they had to swim to enter their rooms to salvage some of their property.
Wow.
There were parts of the town that were not flooded at the time, like I said, were not flooded at the time I went to town. That by the time it was about 7-8 p.m., all those areas were flooded. I've seen people's the exterior of their air conditioners deep in water. And everybody knows the values of these things, and everybody knows the times that we find ourselves in economically, and what it will mean for somebody to be able to get back to their life when this whole water recedes. I can go on and on and on and tell you how the people are distressed. I've seen people who could not sleep because the whole town is dark. Your properties are outside, and if you are not careful and some criminal elements decide to operate in the night, the small that you have salvaged for yourself will not be good. And so they are keeping weight. It's a sad one.
Yeah, Joshua, thank you so much for painting that picture for us. It is indeed a tragedy. Josh Tigo has been on location in Mepe since yesterday and has been painting that picture for us. Now, Winston, there's the owner of a fish farm, Evans Danso, who joins us now. Now, his fish farm has been severely affected by the spillage.
It has, Kujo. Evans, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Well, we could have been better, but the stories that are coming out from where you are, it's making our conditions not the best. But tell us the impact of the spillage on your fish farm.
It's a complete catastrophe. What happened? I think the first heat we had was 2 weeks ago. We woke up in the morning, and without any prior notice, the water level went up almost 1.5 meters. So all our cages got washed away.
All your cages got washed away?
Oh yes. The first heat we lost over 2 million fingerlings and about 120 tons of table-sized fish. And before we could say Jack, in about an hour or two, we see other fish cages floating around from Asichari, Akuse, Volivo, Adidome, Bato, Mefe. All the fish and cages were being washed away like that. A couple of them got stuck around the lower water bridge. I have a couple of footages of that I can share with you a bit later. And then it went through, the water went from under the bridge and got all the way to around Agota area where our main production site is, and there was the same thing that happened there. So when we were counting our losses, in the second week we had this other one in the last 2 weeks that came. This one is even higher than the first one. And from what I understand from my colleague farmers, literally every farm on the river has been washed away. Literally every single farm. You will see cages flying by in 50, 100, and there is really nothing anybody can do. The island in front of my house, for example, is completely disappeared. Completely submerged underwater. So this is the big issue now. We are trying to rescue what we can, because even our breeding and nursery ponds, that's actually about 7 meters above the ground, above the water level, it is being overtaken at the moment. So some way, somehow, we dug a couple of years back a dam at a higher ground, and so we are moving whatever we can salvage from our breeding stock into the dams as we speak.
Talking about, you say the second hit was even worse than the first one.
Oh, yes.
I mean, if you put a value to the second one, I mean, how many tons of fish did you lose, and how much does that cost?
Well, for the table size fish, we are around almost 1 million cedis so far. For the table size fish, for the fingerlings, we lost close to 2 million for the second one. And let me just say the figure.
So you've lost about 3 million cedis already?
Yes, so far, just like that, in the space of 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks?
In 2 weeks.
Okay. This morning we're joined by Evans Danso, who's a fish farmer along the Volta River. But Evans, you talk about rising water levels. Tell us about that also before we get into the relief you've received and whether you were even notified about this spillage.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, our breeding grounds where we have our male and female fish, we cross, calling the eggs and hands and those things. That one is about 7 meters above the water level. That's where it used to be, even 4 days ago. But now the water rose all the way up to that level because of the spillage, and it's taking over all these grounds. So we have to move all the stock to the higher dam. As far as notification is concerned, we have not received any official communication from VRA or even EPA, particularly EPA and stuff where, EPA is always receiving dues from us. We pay huge amounts of money for the environmental protection services. We don't hear anything like this. Nobody even comes out. Nobody even gives you a call to say, hey, what's happening? You are paying for this service, but what I mean, just even give a word at least. Nothing. So you wake up in the morning and you just watch everything washed away. Some of my peers, like even the Water Research Institute and stuff, all their farms are completely gone. Some Chinese farms that are in the neighborhood here. When you enter into the site, you will not even believe there was a project there a couple of days back.
And have you received any help, any relief from the authorities?
Not even a phone call. Nothing.
Not even a phone call?
Nothing. Nobody has even reached out.
We're told the lower Volta River, the levels are rising, and the bridge on the lower Volta could even be affected. You are there. Tell us more about that.
Yes, I think at this rate, the islands that moved are hitting the bridge. the water hyacinths and other very large aquatic weeds. Some of them in acres are floating on the water. I have some videos I can share with you on that. The way they are hitting the bridge, if we are not careful, the bridge may be compromised. Because the water is just maybe a meter or maybe less from the top of the bridge now.
So that's the bridge at Sogankope.
That's the Sogakope bridge, yes.
Now, in Sogankope also,
I
can you
won't be
tell us-
surprised if the bridge is compromised in the next 2 or 3 hours. I will not be surprised at all when I look at the way the water level is going now.
Wow.
So apart from these things that you've talked about, which other areas have been affected within the Sogankope area that you are?
I know the Sope community is part of it is submerged. All the ones along the bridge and along the water, the Holy Trinity part of it is gone. Cisneros Hotel part of it is gone. Waterfront, Sogakope Beach Resort, all those ones lined up by the river. All of the Villa Awoyo is all gone. So by now it will be entering into the main premises. Yes, and the other side of the river as well is up in Fieve area, all the way up to Mepe, and so on. Even Tefla, where I am now.
Wow.
I'm actually standing in front of my gate right now, and the water is at my gate. So any moment, my house is going to be in the water as well.
My goodness. Can you hold on? Evans.
Yeah, let's go back to Mepe for a moment. And by the way, this is Mepe is a good 42 minutes away from Sogakope. So this is a very, very long stretch of communities along the Volta River, all affected by the spillage of the dam. Okay, let's now talk to Felix Ayiku, who's a resident of Mepe. He joins us now. Felix, hello. Tell us about the effect of this spillage on you and your home.
Thank you very much, and good morning to your listeners. What is going on in Mepe or along the Volta Basin is really a sad one, and the effect it cannot be quantified. So for now, we are just seeing something that we don't know how long it's going to take for this to end and for the water to resign and for vulnerable people, to get back to their properties or their place of living. So for me as a person, my residence has been taken off. We've been submerged to about 2.4 meters high.
Wow.
So I want to use your medium to ask for assistance, for help for the people. The government have to come in. A lot of people have been displaced. More than 2,000 houses have been destroyed already. In Mepe, I stay in Mepe, so I'm talking about Mepe, and I want to use your medium also to ask for private institutions to come to the aid of the people. We need relief items. We need tents. We need mosquito coils for the people. A lot of people have been displaced. So please, we are appealing for the NADMO and then for all these national disaster management institutions to come and up their game. There should be proper education. Next time, there should be at least a good communication through the local media so people can be fully prepared.
So, to be clear, Felix, was there
yes.
any communication at all about the spillage?
You will see a press release on social media, which is not very, very good for the local people because a lot of people don't even have smartphones. The old people don't even have they don't understand how these things work. Social media is not the best way. There is letters flying around, but we the young people see it. We saw it. We try to. What does this really mean? And this whole thing started so within a split second. few weeks ago they started this, and yesterday was so disastrous.
Felix,
We need them to communicate to us properly. We need adequate education so people can be fully prepared for this kind of event. It's really sad, Winston, very, very sad. If you see people, vulnerability doesn't feel so close. I was broken the whole of yesterday. I was broken. I saw old people, aged people struggling to even get water to drink.
Felix,
Yes.
do you remember? Were you there when it began? Do you remember?
I was around. Yes.
Tell us about that moment when the water first invaded your community and your homes.
Yesterday morning, the whole of yesterday night, we did this. I and my team were going around to our various spots. I mean, where the epicenters might be. So we went around the whole night. I went to bed around 2 a.m. So the next morning, 7 a.m., we realized that my place, within 30 minutes, the water rise about 2-3 feet within 13 minutes. It was that horrible.
Wow.
Luckily, we were able to have our MP around. He has done his best. He has taken notice of the things that are happening. But as of now, we need help. We need mosquito nets and all that. So people who are evacuated to the safe havens can be at least protected.
Now,
It is that horrible and sad, my brother. So
have you and your neighbors been told anything about when the spillage
say that
will
again?
end? Yeah, Felix, I'm asking whether you and your fellow Mepe citizens have been told when the spillage will end.
As of now, we have no idea, sir. We have no idea when this is going to end. According to my own investigation, I take an intelligence that this is going to go on for as long as up to somewhere December, January.
Felix, well, we certainly hope we get some clarity on how long this thing will last, and we hope we get the relief and aid that you are calling for. Thank you for speaking to us. Felix Aiku is a resident of Mepe, now a town besieged by water from the Akosombo Dam spillage. This is the hand we have been dealt, as at 9:01 on Thursday morning, right here on the Super Morning Show, we're hearing real stories of people caught in the floods in Mepe, in Bato, in Sugakope, in towns and villages around these locations, along a 40 to 50 kilometer stretch that borders the Volta River. Now, these areas are flooded because of something that was pre-planned: the spillage of the Akosombo Dam. It's happened before. It's not the first time. It was pre-planned. It is something that is expected to go on for some time. But somehow the people in these communities were taken completely by surprise, and they stood awestruck as in a matter of minutes their property, some of them irreplaceable family heirlooms, legacy items that cannot be repurchased in the shops, washed away before their very eyes. Businesses submerged in water. We heard from Evans, whose fish farm has suffered over 3 million cedis worth of damage, and he hasn't had a phone call from authorities since it happened. We heard from Felix Aiku, who is literally on his knees begging for relief because he and his neighbors have lost everything. Joshua Tigo called it a tragedy as he described how people are having to swim into their homes to salvage their property. I mean, just imagine your life's work floating on the surface of dirty water, running through the center of your town, because somebody spilled a dam and didn't have the good courtesy to inform you in a way that you will understand, to give you information you can access, to give you alternatives, to give you assistance, to even think ahead to the possibility that your home might get flooded. Nobody had either the courtesy or the competence to do that. That's where we are today.
So, I mean, these are areas that I'm very familiar with. I know these areas. I go there all the time. And listening to the people share the story. I mean, Felix, an architect, one who's in helping people build homes and houses in Mepe, having to swim to his own house, will tell you the situation they find themselves in. Now, the Volta River Authority, somewhere in September, indicated that because of the rising water levels of the Akosombo Dam, they may have to spill excess water. Felix makes the point that they saw statements on social media.
Yeah.
Now, that actually would lead me to a very important thing. We practice a governance system that people see things that sometimes they see a lot of information that sometimes they expect engagement on. Because as a people, the participatory nature of our democracy is such that every now and then we expect, conversations here and there to know what the impacts will be here and there. Now, so I know that the Volta River Authority is spilling because it has to spill. It is spilling because if it doesn't spill, it could collapse the dam, and the repercussions will be even dire than what you're experiencing today.
Yeah.
But having said that also, when the Volta River Authority said they were going to spill, did they, for instance, engage the district assemblies to pass it on to the town councils and to the unit committees for the people to be engaged with information that would indicate the sort of impacts that they may go through? Because, look, if you just issue a statement that says, I am going to spill, and people could be affected, the impact of the spillage should be known. People may downplay it if you just say, I am going to spill. Because there are people who think that, the river will flow and get into the sea, and that's the end of it. There are some who do not appreciate that the river can also rise and then flood a whole community. Anybody who knows Mepe, I am surprised some of the areas that have been flooded because they're so far away from the river bank. Okay, later on we'll talk about what we could have done, the buffers that we could have created and all of that. But let me just move on to one thing. So when VRA issued this notice, what did NADMO do? NADMO, National Disaster Management Organization, whose motto is prevention. NADMO, even though manages disaster, all the time advocates prevention of disaster. So when nothing can be done, then the disaster will be managed. So NADMO would have known a month ago, because the statement I saw was dated 12th September. So NADMO would have known a month ago that this was likely to happen. What sort of preparation did NADMO put in place? That today, people are sleeping in a secondary school and they have mosquitoes all over. They're asking for mosquito nets.
Asking for water to drink. Water to drink.
And so you have the member of parliament going there in for North Tong, going to donate water before people can drink water. What sort of preparation did we put in place when we realized that this was what was going to happen? And I have consistently maintained that if you look at other jurisdictions, the impact of it would have been discussed in advance. Communities that are going to be affected would have known that you're likely to be affected. It is only when it goes beyond the impact that you will say, okay, you were not warned. But in our case, I see the letter, and I'm going to end by reading that letter that is dated 12 September. So you can know, for instance, whether or not. So this is the letter. Okay, this is written by this a press release dated 12 September 2023. The Volta River Authority wishes to inform the general public that it has observed a consistent rise in the inflow pattern and water level of the Akosombo Dam. In line with the emergency preparedness plan and standard operating procedures, the Volta River Authority has duly notified its key stakeholders of this development. The reservoir level as of today suggests that we may need to commence controlled spilling in the coming days should the situation persist. VRA therefore wishes to caution all residents along the Volta River and downstream of our Akosombo and Akosombo dams to be on alert and take the necessary precautionary measures. VRA will continue to monitor the situation, work with our key stakeholders, and provide regular updates to ensure prompt response to any emergency that may arise. And I want to underline any emergency that may arise, because for the Volta River Authority, in their plan, once they notified key stakeholders, including NADMO, including the people themselves, did they notify them? Well, the people have said they saw these statements also. They saw these statements also on social media. So yes, we live in an era where you could release these statements, but releasing them is not the end of it. In conclusion, the people today need help. NADMO, go to their aid now.
I just want to add that it's not just the areas that we've highlighted. There are also people in Eswojaman, Winston, Eswojaman, where they've been displaced. Again, most of the people are fish farmers. So their investments have been destroyed. And they are also complaining about these basic things that the people in the Mepe areas also complain. Water, the basic things to drink and to eat, places to sleep. Also talking about the fact that they were not informed. They were not informed. I mean, this should be more than just informing the people. These are your key stakeholders. You know, there should be proper conversations and there should be a proper line of, if it happens, because obviously they couldn't tell how much this would have destroyed the place, right? But then you have, for instance, the person who is saying that I don't have water, I'm looking for basic things and I can't find. There should be a hotline, for instance, so that you can call and say that I have been affected in this manner and we are struggling. I have read stories of people being injured, children who have been injured through this process. And this is highly unacceptable, to think that we're now distributing relief items when this is our own country. This is something that we say is controlled spillage. I mean, we can't be in 2023 and not learn from other places. And the people are now struggling now. Somebody says that I haven't even received a phone call. We should know the businesses in these areas. We should know the businesses. By now, we should know how they've been affected. We should be giving them help. They shouldn't be calling media stations pleading for help. The basic things. And these are not people who were begging for food before. They had their own way of living.
The understanding is that we all knew. And see, Winston, you referenced that document, right?
Yeah.
Emergency response and standard operating procedure. Any proper one would have meant that they are partners in delivering that. And we did not start spilling from this dam today. We have known that. This dam was established. There were even towns that went under the dam, and we know all of that. We know the catchment areas. We know those who are likely to be affected. And that's also known way ahead of time. My only difficulty is that whenever we have had these conversations, and you remember how long it took us to even have conversations over Bagre Dam until government said we're going to build another dam in the Republic of Ghana to make sure that we reduce the impact of it. It's almost as if we pretend we don't know some of these impacts. I'm reading statements from last year where they say, we are likely to spill. The community say, okay, no, some people respond, others will not respond properly. we need to always have in mind that our actions affect other groups. And these groups are residents who have lived their lives normally in these areas for God knows how long. Residents who are likely to have major disruptions that they can never recover from until some of them die at the end of the day. We cannot also dismiss the fact that if we plan properly all the time, we can avert some of these things. See, this is the Republic of Ghana that has had time. I remember a former energy minister took people to pastors to the Akosombo and go and pray for water into it. At that time, I recall. I mean, those were screaming headlines, so we all recall that. It's very serious, Professor. At that time, there were many who were saying that, how about the times in the future where there will be excess water? What can we do differently? How can we take advantage of that? How can we plan with that? It didn't happen because we know from today it didn't happen. And we have what we have in our hands today. If we really want to pretend that this is normal process, that when we plan to spill, we spill and people still get into trouble, and that our best form of communication is that if we issue a statement, so on the grounds, people would automatically get to know. And I'm saying that I have seen the document that they claim are supposed to be used, and I read it small because it leaflets that they share on the pound. It shows that if there is a flooding issue around anywhere in that North Anna place, schools, those who went to school in the area, they haven't been taught how to handle, where to go, where to hide, where to move to, building standards that should reflect in those areas. Do we have some in the areas that impact in this area? We don't. In fact, generally, I mean, our standards are not so proper. So if you get to the root of it, it's because there's a certain lack of proper preparation and engagement with the people that matter. Ideally, and I know nobody's going to pay any insurance to anybody for this.
There should be compensation, really. And the assembly should be taking a greater responsibility. What did they do after VRA issued that statement?
We don't seem to have a very litigious society. Otherwise,
people have taken on them from different angles and actually dealt with. I mean,
there are so many questions. We have to go in a moment. But so many questions. VRA, right? VRA, you knew in advance you were going to spill this water. In fact, you knew by how much your maximum level had been exceeded. You knew exactly how many liters or cubic whatever of water you were going to have to spill. You knew. Did you ask yourself, when you spill that amount of water, where will it go? Did anybody, VRA, the engineers, those are the people who work there. Did anybody pick up a calculator and try and figure out where that amount of water will go? You know that you are having to spill this water because the rainy season has extended beyond the norm. You know that that's why you have to spill water, because you have excess. So if the rainy season has extended beyond the norm, then you must know that the places where the water will flow to, the rain has been falling there too. I mean, this didn't occur to any of them. It's unforgivable. As for NADMO, I don't even know what to say to them. You people, you have no resources. You have nothing. Every time there is a disaster, you have to go around and rally and corral and try and find mattresses and things to come and help people. You have nothing. So really, as officials of this organization that is under-resourced, the only way you can justify your salary is by working to prevent, preempt, protect people before the thing happens. That is really the only useful application of your time. And so if you are failing to do even that, and by the way, they are consistently failing to do that.
Yeah.
Every time. This is not one time that they've dropped the ball. They are consistently failing to do that. It's a woman for then, because if you are always going to come in after the fact with insufficient help, what is the point of you? What's the point of your organization? And you see, now that so these communities, they all have DCs, they all have assemblies, they all have, there's a regional minister. These are leaders who, even if my grandmother in Bato did not see the social media announcement, You, the DC, you did. You saw it. What did you do? What did you do about it? Who did you talk to about it? Did you have a word with the people in your community? Did you even sit in your office for 5 minutes and think, where will we move these people when the water comes? Look, I'm so disappointed with so many people who have failed the average Ghanaians who live in these communities. But I'll tell you my biggest disappointment. Now that the water is coming and flooding people's homes and washing away millions of cedis from people's businesses, VRA is still not communicating. We are still not hearing from them how long this thing is going to last. They are not correcting the error. They are wearing Wellington boots and going to visit the people in the communities and not telling us a thing about how long this will last, so that we can at least in the midst of this tragedy start planning. Nothing. I'm disappointed.